Hello, so welcome back. So we're going to talk about a loop and how to debugging the program, or we call checking for errors. So let me write the topic out first. So the first topic we'd like to talk about, just review the loop, and we want to see nested loop, and we want to see nested loop means loop inside a loop, right? Just like nested if that we used to talk about. So, and the third one, we like to learn how to test, okay, your code. We use this when we want to debug your program. And in the previous video we learned how to use the Eclipse to use the debuggers, that icon, so you might want to review that. But this one we're going to test the program without using the debugger tool. Alright, and we want to make sure we understand how to use assert, okay, and we want to talk about break statement in loop. So we have break statement, we also have return. Okay, so we can compare those two. And so lastly we want to look at the for each also. Okay, this is another type of loop that talk about for each. Alright, so let's start. So create a new project. I'm going to create a Java project to do loop demo. So first, create a new class. I'm going to name the class loop demo with the main. Alright, so let's review the loop again. Again, loop, we have three types of loops, right? We talk about while. Now we want to review the expressions in the loop here. So if I make it true, this is going to be keep going, right? So we're going to say whenever you want to use the loop, you need three important things, right? Initialize your counter, create condition, right, or validate, right, condition, which is inside your parentheses here. Like, I can use many ways to do this. It can be just boolean, using boolean expression. It can also use like that, I make it to true, right, to keep doing the loop. Boolean expression could be like I less than 10, we gonna do something like that, the loop. And it can be the loop forever, and depending on input, right, on user input. Okay, and lastly, make sure you change the value, right, or do the increment. Alright, so now like this one, we make it run forever when you do true like that. If I run this, it's going to keep saying hello, 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 like that, and keep going, you see. which this is called infinite loops, and we don't like that to happen. So it happens when the expression is always true. And when you do false, that means expression is false. While false, it will never do the loop. Okay. Like saying that unreached code here, we never do a loop. Okay, something wrong too. You didn't get loop for that. Now it can be based on, like say here, true or false. This is Boolean expressions. Alright, so now it can be depend on user input, right? Like if I use scanner, input equals to new scanner. So let's prompt the user, like the question, do you want to continue? Something like that. So the user may respond with type Y or Y2. Okay. For yes, or N for no. Okay. So let me make sure it's easier to understand. Or okay. So now the user may type Y. So I have to validate that then. If it's while alright, so if we validate the user input, right? So input, we said, do you want to continue, right? So that means while input equals to, maybe we want to do string, we like to do equals instead. So to equals, we like to use with the numbers, but this is a string input from the user. You read in a string, so it's gonna be string. Right. Choice equals to input dot next, which is a string. So we're gonna say equals to, we have to say choice, right? Choice that the user enter equals to, let's say Y. Now since we say either uppercase Y or lowercase y is fine, so for the string we have the methods also beside dot equals. We have equals ignore case, we're going to ignore the case, either uppercase, lowercase, doesn't matter, let the user enter. But in this case it's still, let's see, if the user enter lowercase, uppercase, let's test that. Okay, so Y. Okay, so the program keep going. Now we initialize the counter or the input, which is the choices. Okay, so in this case we initialize from user input, right, as the Y counter or the values, right, choice. When the program start, it pretty much is going to keep doing it because it's always true, just like the way that I shown you earlier with true. This make it always true. So if we never stop, then you need to do the third, right? The second, validate the condition is true. The third step is change the value, right? So change the value or increment that. Now to change the value, we want to make sure we're gonna, since the value being initialized from user input, same thing happened. We want to change the values of the choice here, right, from user input again, which depend on the questions and reading. So we want to change it after we say hello. We don't want to do before because we don't want to read or prompt the user twice. So I prompt the user, right, do you want to continue again at the end? So let's stop and run the program and see what we get here. If I say yes, hello, do you want to continue? Yes, hello. Since lowercase, uppercase doesn't matter, we do the equals ignore case here. Now when I say no, it's pretty much going to make it exit the loop here. So exit the loop, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to say goodbye to the user, right, for exit the loop. Goodbye. Okay. Goodbye. Alright, do it again. So uppercase to say hello, we'll say N, goodbye. Alright, so that's how loop works. Okay. So this is a type of while loop. So we also have do, while, and for. Okay. So now let's look at an example of do while. Okay. So do while. So this type of loop we like to use when the user want to like execute the statement in the loop at least once. Okay, so we gotta do while. That's a true. Okay, that's a syntax. So let me let's say if I do false, see, if it's false it should not get into the loop, but for the type of do while it's going to get into the loop at least once. See that? Like if I do while and make it false, and you see that the compiler said this statement will never get in. Okay, unreachable code, because false we never get it in. See, that's the difference. Okay, now another one is for. Okay, for is normally you need to initialize boolean, right? Initialize first. So let's say true. Which I need to give the values, right? Like boolean states equals to true. Okay, now we have an expressions next. Like we want to change the values. Okay, so normally we don't do this in for. We like to do in I equal to 0 and then expressions, because for the we don't do boolean type like that because it's not common. Okay, so how are you gonna do expression like less than, greater than, like equal to 0? Let's say less than -1. That's gonna make it 2 false. So that what we like to see when you run that, it will never get inside the loop, right? Never print anything. We're going to say when it's false, it's going to say goodbye. We're going to see statement goodbye. Goodbye. like that. Okay, so now we can make it true, and it's going to do right I greater than equals to 0, right? I plus plus. This is going to make an infinite loop, because in this case it will never turn to false, because when you do increment it's going to loop forever, because number is going to get increasing like that. So if I want to terminate, I need to do decrements like that. Turn 0 to the -1, and it's going to print hello and then goodbye. So that's how we use for. Now let's review the loop.